Well, we are privileged to have Jeremy from Union Gospel Mission out in Vancouver. Jeremy, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today. 700 Club Canada is honored to be a partner with your ministry. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm really happy to be joining you.
Well, we'd like to know of our viewers might not be familiar with Union Gospel Mission and some of the work you do. So if you could just tell us a few things that the Union Gospel Mission does to help the vulnerable in your city, that would be great.
Yeah, you bet. Happy to. UGM is all about helping people overcome poverty, homelessness, and addiction. And we do that one life at a time. It's about truly, without discrimination, demonstrating the love of Christ and ensuring that people have hope, have dignity, and they really need that right now during the pandemic more than ever.
Absolutely, Jeremy. Can you tell us how are you adjusting, maybe pivoting or adapting during this COVID-19 season?
The pandemic has really changed everything for us. And I know those watching from home understand that the pandemic has impacted their lives in huge ways. We've seen incredible impacts on human lives in the downtown east side and around Metro Vancouver that are almost hard to quantify. We saw immediately when the shutdown happened and the pandemic started spreading that more people were all of a sudden showing up at our doorstep asking for help. We were seeing far more people looking for basic things like meals, like shelter. The meals that we served, we had to increase by 30 to 60% initially. The food hampers for things like single moms and families, we had to increase by 400 or 500%. And the number of people sleeping rough, sleeping outside in hidden places like in camps or in woods or in alleys, we've actually seen that double since the pandemic initially struck. People lost work, people had fewer places to go, and that was really concerning for us because the homeless are among the most vulnerable to COVID-19 because many have underlying health conditions, and additionally, they have no place to go to wash their hands, no place to self-isolate, no way to socially distance. If you're homeless, you're in the public all the time, so you're literally at risk all the time. We had this huge confluence of risks converge, and it was really, really difficult. And still we're struggling, but hopefully struggling and transforming lives in the midst of that.
Wow, that is certainly a good wake-up call to those of us sitting in our comfortable homes, right, during isolation, that there are people on the streets that have so many more things against them in this time. How have you overcome some of these challenges?
Yeah, we had to basically redesign our programs, implement a pandemic plan. So, for example, we couldn't have hundreds of people congregating inside our building to eat meals. So we changed this to a takeout model where people could come, where we increased the number of meals initially that we could give out. And we did that through takeouts. We had to change our personal protective equipment. So staff are often wearing things like this, a mask, and then they're also wearing, in some cases, things like face shields, or in other cases, when they're doing laundry for our guests, they have the option to wear full-on gowns because we need to make sure we're taking every step to protect those who are most vulnerable. We believe that's what God would have us do. Those are just a few of the many things. But there's also some really incredible things that have happened. This mask that I showed you, this was actually hand sewn by volunteers of our mask force, we call it, because initially we couldn't get enough masks for our staff, so volunteers stepped up to sew those.
Wow.
We've also collaborated with other organizations to deliver meals to people's homes, those who have homes, so they don't have to leave and stand in lines looking for food when they're hungry.
That's so great, Jeremy. I mean, I feel so encouraged to hear this and how the community's coming together and the ways you're serving. How are you seeing God move in these difficult and yet, opportune times?
Yeah, I think that we see that through the human impact, the transformation we've seen. There was a man named Jack who was in our shelter at the time that the pandemic first really took to taking hold in Canada, he recognized that our frontline staff, while others were being told to stay home, our frontline staff were coming to work serving on the front lines of a pandemic. And he said he noticed their open heart. He noticed that they were in some ways sacrificing for him. And while he was at the bottom, what he described as the bottom of his life, because he was homeless and struggling, he felt that somebody truly cared about him. He felt loved and respected, and he felt valuable. And I think that is the message for people who feel like they're down and out or feel like they're losing hope right now, that God knows where you are. He's sending people to be an offer of help, even in your deepest, darkest time. And that's where we see, hope and God's love throughout a really difficult time.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. That is such a good reminder at a time when a lot of the viewers even feel like, what can I do? I know there's people struggling, and yet, God is with each one of us, and the way that we can contribute, even in this, what might seem the smallest of ways, our presence. God can speak to someone through that. Even a smile at a distance can be an important gift to give. As we close here, what's your greatest concern, and how can we pray for you?
Oh man, if you could pray for our frontline staff and those who are continuing to serve during a time of great stress. And just our greatest concern is that as things prolong and there might be economic consequences, that we still have the resources to move forward and serve and protect people. And obviously, we're so grateful for your partnership and everything you're doing to make that a reality.
Well, we will be praying for you, and also are encouraging as viewers and ourselves to give generously to missions like you're leading out there, Jeremy. God bless you. Union Gospel Mission is one of our loved partners here at 700 Club Canada. So we're praying for you, and we will continue to support you generously. Well, up next, we have a great story about someone who miraculously survived a fiery explosion. So you don't want to miss that.